little wooden bits, and victory points. You had me at hello. The game I'm looking at today is Glen. It was put out by Rio Grande Games. It's a 2 to 5 player game, and it plays in about 45 minutes. Now, the main thing that you're doing in this game is you're trying to create your own personal little villages, and that immediately screamed to me that this is going to have a strong puzzle aspect to it. The other two things that appealed to me about this were this is actually a pretty small game here, like box-wise, and it's pretty inexpensive compared to the other games that I buy of this style. Oh, lastly, the other thing that made me want to play this is apparently the rules were pretty easy to learn and teach, which we're going to find out right now. Here's the setup for a 2-player game of Glenmore. Each player gets a meeple of their own color, and in a 2-player game there's also a die which represents a third dummy player, which just adds a bit of randomness to the game. Each player also gets a village to themselves and some money, and you're ready to start. What you're trying to do in this game is you're trying to acquire tiles on this track in order to add them into your village. So the yellow player, who's the starting player, and you can tell this because he's at the beginning of the chain of all these tiles, may choose any tile that he wishes. So yellow could go here to this quarry and then add it to his village. Before I add that tile to this village, I should explain how villages work. When you start the game, you just get this one village tile, and the main characteristic of it is that there's a road running from west to east and a river going north to south. And when you add any tiles that have a river or a road on it, they have to connect to the existing river or road. And the rule is there can only be that one single river or road. In addition to that connection rule, when you place a tile, it can only be placed orthogonally adjacent, or down, right, up, or left. And the other rule is that tiles can only be placed in the 8 squares surrounding a tile which has a clansman sitting on it. So in this example where I picked up the quarry, I have to place it so that the road connects, which means that I can only place it to the left or the right of my village. Now the neat thing about when you place a tile in your village is you get to activate the special ability of the tile you placed and of all the surrounding tiles, if there are any. In this example, I can claim a stone from my quarry, and then I can also use the ability to move any clansman that I'd like. The benefit of doing that is it allows me to extend my village in multiple different directions. After selecting a tile and placing it on the village, the track gets filled with the lowest numbered stack, and play continues for the next person at the beginning of the chain of tiles. And that's an interesting aspect of this game. It's always the person who's at the beginning of the track who gets to move next. So although you have the ability to jump to any tile you'd like, there is the disadvantage that if you jump to a further tile, you may end up with less turns during the game. Now I'll have blue make a turn. So I'm going to have blue hop over here and take another village tile. This tile is slightly different because this one has an icon on the bottom right. And a bottom right tile gives you a bonus the moment that you place a new tile to your village. So I'll place this tile on the road on my village, and I'll take this bonus, which is get 1 free to clansman. So I pop them here. I also have 2 movement points granted by my 2 villages, and what that means is I can move my clansmen 2 spaces on my village, or I could also promote one of these guys into a chieftain, which would be just placed to the side of my village. I'll refill the track again, and now it's the next player who's at the start of the chain's turn to go. Now in a 2 or 3 player game, it's actually a die that gets to move as well, and what you do is you simply roll it and move it that many spaces, and remove the tile. Refill the track, roll the die again, and count the die that many tiles. 1, 2, remove the tile. Now, if any tiles have been skipped and there's tiles behind the starting player, you just remove them all. And then you refill as many tiles until that there's only 1 space remaining behind the next player. Blue is now the next player to move, so I'm going to have him hop over here and grab the forest. He's going to add this to his village. This is a river tile, so it has to connect to a river. And then I get to activate all the tiles. So I have a forest cube to get, and I have 2 movement points. So I'll move one clanman down here, and I'll promote this one guy to be a chieftain. Refill the track, roll the die, one tile, takes that away, refill, and it's blue's turn again. I'm going to have blue move ahead and take another village tile. Now, this tile has another symbol on it, and what it is anything at the top left is the price you must pay in order to play a tile. So this costs 1 wood, so I'm going to play this on blue's board. And you also notice that there's no river or road icons on it, so that simply means I can place it anywhere on my village that doesn't have a river or road marker. So I could place it right here. That'll cost me 1 cube, and then I get to activate all the abilities. So this says that I immediately get 1 new clanman, I get 1 green cube, and I get 3 movement points. So if I wanted to, I could go 1, 2, 3, although that'd be kind of stupid. I'm going to have yellow grab another type of special tile in this game. They're actually pretty important. Any of these tiles that have the symbol at the bottom left means that you get a special card as well as placing this into your village. So I'm going to have him place this into his village, and as usual I activate any surrounding tiles. So the only really important one is this guy gets an additional stone, and because it had that symbol I get to draw a Locky card, and what this does is it says immediately take 2 of any resource. And so I can take any 2 of the resources that I'd like. So I'll take a cow and a sheep. There's numerous other types of tiles in the game. For example, there's this one, the distillery, which lets me convert 1 yellow cube into a whiskey. And whiskey is actually pretty important for scoring. Another type of tile is this butcher, which allows you to convert goods, in this case it's meat goods, into victory points. Another important aspect of this game is this market space in the middle here. What this can be used for is at any point during the game, on my turn, I can sell goods cubes to the market and get money. So like I could sell this stone cube to the market and I can take the highest most money. So in this case I would get 1 coin for doing so. Later on, if a player landed on a tile that required payment, so this distillery, which requires 1 stone, if they didn't have a stone to provide, they could still place it and immediately buy a resource from the market. So here, a stone, the lowest available number is 1, so it costs 1 to buy. So he can just trade that 1 in and have the distillery for his use. There are 3 main points during the game in which scoring occurs, and scoring occurs each time that one of these stacks runs out. Here, blue will make a move, so I'm going to have him go over here and take wheat field, plunk it down, and then activate the wheat field, and I'm going to activate the distillery, which lets me turn 1 wheat into a whiskey. Now I refill the track, this being the last tile of the 1 stack, and scoring happens. Scoring is a comparison of the 3 main things in this game: whiskey, chieftains, and special cards that you own. And what you're doing is each player compares against the lowest ranked player, and they see how many points they get as a result. You look at this track to see the difference in values and get victory points based on that. So to demonstrate scoring, I'll do the 3 things. We see whiskeys. This player has 2, this player has 0, therefore he gets 2 points. Then we go chieftains. This player has 2 chieftains, this player has 0, therefore he again gets 2 points. And then special cards, this player has 1, this guy has 0, so this player gets 1 point. And so this occurs 3 times during the game once each stack is depleted. And when the final stack is depleted, then the end game scoring occurs, which is 1 more round of the whiskeys, chieftains, and cards, but also 3 other criteria. The 3 additional things you look at the end of the game is you look at the difference of village tiles that each player has, and it's actually whoever has the most tiles gets penalized. They lose 3 points for every extra that they have over the person with the fewest. The second form of victory points you get at the very end of the game
is the amount of coins that you have, and it's quite simple. You get 1 victory point for each coin. And the third type of special scoring is certain cards give you points for the very end of the game. Like this one gives you 3 victory points for each of your villages that you have, or this one gives you 2 victory points for each of your green tiles that you have. A green tile would be like this wheat field, and you can see how it's actually a green tile. And that, in essence, is how Glenmore is played.
I've played Glenmore a number of times as a 2-player game and a couple times as a 4-player game, and it struck me that no matter how I play it, it still feels generally the same, which is a good thing, because most of the strategic games that I play, when you take it from like a 4-player setting down to a 2-player, it usually has a vastly different feel. So it was quite surprising how, even though in a 2-player game you're adding like a dummy player with a die, it's still essentially the same thing. One thing that strikes me about this game is there seems to be such a diverse amount of paths that you can take to try to achieve victory, and I feel that there's just so many things that have been untapped that I still need to investigate and explore. And that's one thing, is it's going to take 3 or 4 games before you can really get to see or learn all the tiles, and it's not till then that you can start doing that really like high level strategic thinking, thinking like from beginning of the game to the end, and start battling other people to try to get that. And I think that the greatest reward for this game will be able to play with people who have all had that experience, having like 4 or 5 games under their belt, and then start playing from there. So I do truly look forward to having the opportunity to do that. Another thing I really like about this game is the portability aspect. The game board itself for this that's it. So everything else around that is just tiles and stuff, so setting it up in like smaller cramped spaces should be relatively easy. It's like the game board could be like on a coffee table, and like one guy could be on the couch and the other guy could be on the floor, and yeah, it would still work properly. So I give this game incredibly high marks. I'm enamored with it, and I really can't wait to continue to explore all the choices that it has to offer. So I can wholeheartedly recommend this without reservation. It's definitely a gem in my collection.